So it's my pleasure to introduce Country Director Eddie Morales.
Great. So good afternoon to everyone. As Katie, I am so excited to see familiar faces, to see friends, and I know it's investors, but I would prefer to say friends. And as Jim Holbrook said, I'm missing you guys. I'm missing being in the United States since March of last year. I have not been there, seen my friends. So today I'm so excited and I feel so blessed to be with you and to see your faces on the screen. Thank God and thanks for technology. Thanks for investing this hour with us, to learn about what God is doing in Nicaragua through Orphan Network. And as usual, Orphan Network, it's you, Orphan Network is me. We are all Orphan Network. So thank you so very much. And I would like to start by sharing the good news of last year regarding our main objectives. As you know, in Nicaragua, our main objective through our program is to preach the gospel, is to make sure that everyone is having or working towards a relationship with Jesus. And in 2020, 4,226 people said yes to Jesus. I can imagine all the party went on and going on in heaven, as the Bible says, because of this number of people saying yes to Jesus. We are definitely celebrating. The number is also increasing because we have decided that we would include people coming to Jesus through all of our programs. So all of our partners receiving benefits from us or being served through us, they are reporting all the people coming to Jesus. So I invite you to definitely celebrate with us this number of people coming to Jesus. Regarding hurricane support, as you know, we went through 2 hurricanes in Nicaragua. Man, it's been really hard, going from political turmoil through COVID, closing the year with 2 hurricanes in less than a month. It was really hard, but thank God, and I really want, on behalf of all of our staff, partners, and the people, especially in the East Coast, I want to say thank you so very much for your generosity and for your support to every person who was affected by Hurricane Eta. I was just thinking as we were preparing for this, I was thinking that after the first hurricane, we had 2 trucks of food ready to go, thanks to Feed My Starving Children with a container that they committed. And then we bought some food here. And as we were preparing, they said, okay, the next hurricane is coming. And the 2 trucks were on their way. Actually, they went through the hurricane into Puerto Cabezas, just getting food ready for the people who were affected through the hurricane. So thank you so very much. For your support, we were able to raise $378,000, as you can see, $400 from you, from churches, partners, even our staff in Nicaragua, and 117,000 worth of food and gift in kind, I would say water, medicine, food, Bibles, and things that we provided. Thanks to World Vision, Fabreto, El Granjero, Feed My Starving Children with the container that they committed for this purpose. So in hurricane relief, we were able then to provide 346,000 meals for 10,000 people, obviously, who were affected through the 2 hurricanes that we went. And as you know, we started just day 1 after the first hurricane. I think it's also important to say that most of the food, because of the speed we needed to move with, most of the food were purchased in Puerto Cabezas by Pastor Earl and his staff and his team in Nicaragua. So most of the food we provided were purchased there. Also, it's important, I think, to mention that, as you know, we have a program in Puerto Cabezas. Every day we're feeding 600 children, but because of the hurricane, we doubled our meals. So they were receiving 2 meals a day for the first 3 months. We supported them with 3 meals a day in Puerto Cabezas. We went down, David Gutierrez, who is actually in this meeting, and I went down, and Pedro from Matagalpa, we went down to see how we could have continued to support. And the one thing we had in our mind from the very beginning was, we call it our gap strategy. No? So as we were supporting, we were trying to see where there were gaps, where there were needs that no one was covering or providing for. So the first thing we learned in the community was, one, the people were receiving food, even we were providing food, and they look at us and they said, you know, we don't even have a pot to cook in because the hurricane took everything. So we said, okay, then we have to provide pots, plates, spoon, cup, because they didn't have it. The second thing that we learned was, although the government and others were providing like tin sheets and trying to help with nails, and they were finding lumber to try to build something to move their family into, they were saying, you know, we're receiving all of this support, but again, the gap, we don't even have a hammer, no. So again, what we did, we step up and we say, okay, we're going to buy a kit per community of hammer, saw, and a whole bunch of tools that they would use. In this approach, what we were looking for really was, how can we help them to help their self as well in this gap strategy is what we called it. No. The third thing we said is, we definitely want to make sure that we're going to support them, so help them to help themselves, if I can use that phrase. So we said, okay, do you plant? You know, can we provide seeds? They said, no, we're all fishermen. You know, the communities, most of the communities we went to, they said, oh, we're fishermen. So we said, let's provide with fishing gears, fishing nets, no, so they can definitely start producing for them, for their family, start producing for themselves, and obviously have the support they needed to provide for their family. So livelihood, income for their family. No, so that's what we did. We provided fishing gears, we provided nets for them. In this area, and even little things like in the shelter center where we were providing food from day one after the hurricane, we also learned that like the seniors, they're coming from dirt floor communities or wood floor homes, and so they were used to walking around even without shoes. Now they were in a shelter or in a center with a concrete floor, so they were starting to have pains in their feet, in their legs, in their knees. And we learned that definitely what was happening is that they weren't used to, they didn't have shoes for this cold concrete floor. They needed something. So we even step up and say, you know, we should at least provide flip-flops. You know, and I mentioned this just to say that definitely God led us in this process to see where there were needs, where there were gaps that we were able to step up and to provide, so the people could have received the support they needed. Going forward, obviously, it's the big subject is rebuilding. No, so we have been looking into what the government is doing, what others like we call them the big guys, you know, like the World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, the European Union, and other organizations, the United Nations. A lot of money is been pouring into Nicaragua for rebuilding. So again, as we're coordinating with them and we're talking with them for this rebuilding process, we are also looking in our strategy again where there are gaps, or going forward where there will be gaps that we should step up again and make sure that we're providing the support they need. The government has announced that there are 4,700 homes somehow affected or totally destroyed. So that's the amount I'm sure everyone is looking into. And again, we are joining all this effort with other organizations and trying to see where there will be gaps and how we can definitely contribute to this whole process. So that's what we have been doing regarding the hurricane, you know, taking advantage of this opportunity, obviously, to share the gospel and to serve, as you know, in our strategy. All that we're doing in these communities and in the region is through our local partner, Verbo Church, Pastor Earl, in the area. So that's where we have been now. And again, as I said, going forward, we're looking into the big rebuilding phase, which would be phase 3, and again, join other organizations to support the people in these communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie, for that update. It's really been just awe-inspiring to see everyone's support come through so quickly and just continuously for such a big effort that's been underway in Puerto Cabezas. So thank you, everybody, for your support of that work. And so I'm going to transition to a question that we had come in from Dave Meyer. He asks, in view of COVID, economic, and recent hurricanes activity, what new or emerging ministry opportunities are you seeing in Nicaragua? What's your response to that?
Sure. So I would mention several things, Dave. First, thank you for the question. Very, very good. And thanks for joining us too through this question. So first, I would say preaching the gospel. All that we're doing, again, that's our main objective. So yes, we're serving. Yes, we're working really hard to make sure our second goal, breaking cycles of poverty, working towards quality of life for the people we're serving. But our main objective is to bring Jesus. So we see this as opportunities as well to preach the gospel to the people in the area. The second thing I would say is trying to see how we can help them to help themselves. So all that we have been providing, like the fishing nets and all the fishing gears, is how can we help them to be self-sufficient, to be sustainability, So they're not going after the hurricane like, oh, I'm so poor, plus 2 hurricanes, can you help me, help me, help me, help me? And as a friend said, help me until Jesus comes. No. How can we help them to help themselves? And that's exactly what we have been doing. And even with the government, I would say, and the other organization, I personally had in meetings with them, I said, I think we should take advantage of this opportunity to make sure that we do everything right. So even like the homes that we're talking about rebuilding, can we just make it strong enough so they can be hurricane proof? So as example, can we use like hurricane brackets, to make it hurricane proof? So the big thing is, again, as Orphan Network, trying to see how we can do things really well. How we can, yes, we're serving the poor, as the Global Leadership Summit said, we're serving the poor, but how can we serve them with dignity, with self-esteem? So we see these as opportunity, do things right, everything that we're doing, do it right, help them to help themselves, and how can we take advantage of this to preach the gospel as well?
Thank you for that response.